I have the opportunity to tell you a lot of Carolina basketball stories, a lot of Carolina football stories, but I want to make sure to expose you to everything in the world of Carolina athletics. And so today, an interview with Carolina Tar Heel wrestler Kizhan Clarke, who made an unexpected run all the way to the NCAA Championship round, where he fell just shy as the national runner-up, paralleling what the Carolina basketball team did. He's got an inspiring and phenomenal story, and I can't wait to share it with you today on this episode of Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, it's Monday, April 18th, 2022. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, beat writer for North Carolina's Sports Illustrated site, All Tar Heels. I want to thank you for making Locked On Tar Heels your first listen every single day. And for those of you watching on YouTube, your first watch today. Please remember that we are free and available anywhere you find podcasts. And for those of you watching, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and let's get right into it. As I said today, we've got a great interview with Carolina wrestler Kizhan Clarke, and here it is. I'm joined today by UNC 141-pound wrestler Kizhan Clarke. Kizhan, thank you so much for being here. Great to have you. Congrats on your incredible run this season.
No, I appreciate it, Isaac, for you inviting me on here, and just want to let it be known that I'm a former 141-pounder. I've gained a little bit of weight since then. So.
And that's something I definitely want to talk about today because you never wrestled that weight class until you came to Chapel Hill. We'll get to that in just a second. I love that story. So for folks who didn't have an opportunity to check in on Carolina wrestling this season, tell us who you are. Who is Kizhan the man?
Well, I'm a first-year transfer to UNC. This is my first year down at North Carolina, so I'm still kind of adjusting, but I think I just did pretty well this year. I come originally from I was born in Germany. I'll start there. My mom is German, so my mom and my dad. He was in the military. I met my mom in Germany. I was born there. Moved to Texas, where I lived with my grandfather for a little bit. But once I got to high school, I moved in with my aunt. In Florida, which I love Florida. It's a great area. Beautiful weather, and I just love being down south. It's kind of like home for me. From there, moved up to when I graduated, I had offers from I had an offer from American University, from T. Moore. He offered me a scholarship up in DC. And, that was my first time at DC. So when I got there, I was just kind of like in awe of all the, history. And, I just saw an opportunity for me to kind of jumpstart my career. So I kind of took it as soon as I got the offer, went up to DC, trained there for 5 years until they let go of Coach Moore, during the COVID kind of season. And so at that point, it wasn't much for me hanging on to at AU. So Coach Ramos reached out to me, said they needed a 49-pounder, which I thought that's why I was going to go, 49. That was the original plan. And so I accepted. Originally I was kind of worried that I wouldn't get into UNC School of Law because that is a pretty top tier law school, and I was like, man, that'd be pretty cool if I get in there, and in terms of wrestling, y'all top, I was thinking top 10 this year. We definitely could have been top 10 this year. So I was, really hype about, getting that offer from Coach Ramos. And so, as soon as I got in, there was no question after the visit I had here and trying all the, barbecue y'all have down in North Carolina, there's kind of like, left it all, no question that I was going to be in, a Tar Heel. So, came down here and, met my team, met my coaches, and, loved every single one of them. They treated me like family. Since then I was just grinding. They knew my goal was to be a national champion. I came short of that this year, but still was happy with the result at the end of the day. That's kind of was my story that brought me to, Chapel Hill. So.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all that.
No
So,
problem.
as you said, at American, you wrestled at 149. I believe your redshirt sophomore year, you were at 157. What, like, cutting down to 141 at Carolina this year? Tell us that story. How did that come about?
Yeah, so we had a kind of a I had a talk with one of my teammates, Zach Sherman. He was a 41 pounder for last year. Um, I was kind of North Carolina was not really my was on my radar at all because I knew that Austin O'Connor was the national champion for last year at 149. So I thought, like, why would they need me? Like, there's no point in me, even them even reaching out to me. But Coach Ramos reached out, said, "Hey, O'Connor's bumping up to 57. We need a 49 pounder." All right, cool. I'm a 49 pounder. I'm in. So come to Carolina. We get through preseason, or we're starting preseason. I'm a solid 49 pounder. Walk around probably like 55. And Zach Sherman, the 41 from last year, or he was supposed to be 41 for this year. Came up to me and said, "Hey, man, he's a tall guy, a taller guy, a little bit less lean than I am." He, said, "Hey, I can't make it, man. I just can't." And since then, it was just, it was tough. It was tough that first little bit. It was tough. I didn't think I was gonna make it. I didn't think I can get down that low just because I'm probably at like a 2% body fat. So I didn't think that was gonna be possible for me. But the training here at North Carolina is like second to none. It's we train pretty hard, and so getting down the weight, it was a possibility. Was it uncomfortable? Yes, very, but it was possible, and I feel like being at that weight definitely caused me to achieve what I achieved this year. So that's kind of the story of how I ended up at 141 this year.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And not to mention, if I'm not wrong, 141 is like one of the most packed weight classes in the entire nation, right? Like,
yeah.
What was that mentally like? Okay, I'm shifting to 141 and everybody's there trying to get to the top of the mountain. What does it say about the competitor in you that you're willing to do that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was more of a sacrifice I was willing to make for the team. One of my teammates, he can't make the weight. I'm not gonna have him, possibly miss weight or, have terrible performances, in matches. I'd rather, at least try to do it for the team, my teammate, before, I tell him, I can't do it. We got to work something else out. But I was able to actually do it. Was it tough? Yes, but I was able to actually do it. And I saw, looking at 141 was as the weight class, I just saw opportunity. I saw that I was going to have some good guys like Chad Red, in the first couple weeks of the season. So I knew that there's great opportunities for me to show who I am and show that I can hang with the best of them. So I didn't really stray away from the competition. I mean, 49 would have been it would have been some tough competition there too. So I mean, I don't think either or was like the stronger, but I just did mostly for the team and my teammates. I did. That's why I made that sacrifice, that decision. So, and it ended up working out for me too in the end. So yeah.
It did. You saw an opportunity, as you said, and you took great advantage of that.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about what that looked like throughout the season in just a second. But first, let me tell you about Built Bar. Built Bars are a great candy bar replacement option covered in 100% real chocolate. Some of the great flavors include mint brownie batter puffs, and I was just scrolling through their site earlier today and saw that they have churro flavor. Haven't tried it, but I need to get into that. These are all delicious. New flavors are coming out all the time. At Built Bar, they're really all about the taste. They want to make it good first, and then they're going to go back and figure out how to make it healthy for you. Not sure how they do it, but they pull it off every single time. So, go to Built.com, scroll down to the macros chart, and you're going to be blown away. High protein, low calories, high fiber, low carb. Let me give you some of the specific numbers. Just 130 calories, only 4 grams of sugar, only 4 grams of net carbs, but 17 grams of protein. And when you compare that to a candy bar, it's usually around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. So, you know which option to choose. Go to Built.com and use promo code LOCKED15 and you'll get 15% off your next order. Again, that's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Let me also tell you that starting Thursday, April 28th, the first day of the NFL Draft, you can tune in to Locked On NFL Draft's live coverage of the 2022 NFL Draft with all 3 days of real-time analysis from our extensive lineups of experts and insiders. And for those of you dying to know who your team is going to take, catch Odyssey and Locked On's NFL Mock Draft Special, hosted by Brian Peacock and former scout Matt Williamson of the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show all week long leading up to that first pick. Once again, this is Isaac Shade from Locked On Tar Heels. I am joined today by UNC, as he said, former 141-pounder, Kizhan Clarke. Kizhan, we've been talking about who you are, and now we want to move into the opportunity you saw to have a great season at the 141 weight class. And so you start off this year with a 15-match winning streak. What's working for you in that?
What's working for me is I'm just, being, a former 157-pounder, and wrestling 49. I'm just, more physical than a lot of the 41-pounders were. I'm bigger, stronger, than most of the guys the weight. I felt like I was confident in that, in my strength and in my power. The one hurdle I kind of had to, overcome is, the weight cut. I mean, I had to, be able to sustain a full match, that was the biggest challenge of the year. It was just, having to adjust to that weight and, having to, manage. And because, there was a lot of times where I wasn't able to take in food because, my body would, kind of react differently. And, there's a lot of things I was new to. Like I couldn't overeat. I couldn't over drink, or I'd be slow out there. I'd be sluggish. I'd get sick. And so there was a lot of adjustments that first month basically. It was very tough. I kind of had to see what was working for me, and there's a lot of trial and error. But once I figured it out, I was confident. I was there was no one that was gonna. One of the biggest things for me was never being scored on. That was something I wanted to, a goal for me in every match. I never wanted to give up a score. I never wanted to give up a takedown. I never wanted to give up an escape. Because if they don't score any points, how are they going to win the match? So that was my mentality.
Little known fact, in sports you have to score to win. I don't know if you
right. Exactly. And so that was it's as simple as that. If they don't score, they can't win. So that was my priority. The first first couple months of the season, I was just trying to maintain my weight, and that was the biggest challenge. But once I was on that mat, there wasn't anything that was going to stop me. There wasn't like anything in my mind that was there's no doubt that I was the best person out there. And going through the season, it was it worked out pretty much that way. And I was never really had much. I had a few close matches where it kind of got iffy and scary, but I always pulled it out. So there was never there was never a time where I was like, I need to fix something, I need to adjust something, like I probably should have, throughout the season, until I suffered my first loss to Cole Matthews in the pit duel, and our ladder duel. There's a lot of nerves in that match. Coming from AU, there wasn't much of a sports crowd. We wouldn't have there wasn't like hundreds, thousands of people in the stands like we see here. If we go to like Ohio or at Virginia Tech or NC State, there's like fireworks, there's like fire and like cheerleaders and crowds going crazy. Like that's something that I'm very new to and I was not used to at AU. So coming out on that senior night was a big deal. I mean, I was being honored, I guess, in front of all these people, and I'm versing Cole Matthews, who's a really formidable opponent, and I was nervous. I have to be honest. I was a little nervous and going into that match, and I had this 15 match winning streak where I'm like, I can't let this streak end. I need to protect this streak. And that was like the first thing in my mind. It wasn't about winning a match or doing what I do. It was about protecting a winning streak, which really doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. And so I was just not mentally prepared for that match, and that's why I ended up I ended up losing it. It was a pretty close match, but he ended up just being the better man that day. I knew that's someone I was going to see a conference, so I wasn't really too stressed out about it. After then, I started making adjustments. Like I can't let guys hang on. I have to kind of impose my will and stop worrying about stuff that really doesn't matter, like streaks. And now that I have a loss, like nothing really, it'll just go out there and do the best I can. Don't worry about protecting the streak. And then so going on throughout the season, I was doing well. Won the rest of my matches. Only had one loss going to the conference. Felt very confident. As number 2 seed. I was going to see Cole Matthews in the finals. I was excited to get that match back. Until I lost my first match to NC State. A guy Jack, I've beaten, in the past, and so or literally the week before, or 2 weeks before, and I was like, I just couldn't recover. I mean, after that match, I was just, kind of defeated in my mind. Like, how did I lose this guy? Like, not to ignore the fact that I also busted open my eye in that match, and so I had this huge, I had stitches all down my eyebrow, and I had to wrap it up with tape going into my next match, and I couldn't see out of my right eye, and so it was going to my next match. There's a lot of issues, I guess, a lot of challenges I had to face going into that match and during the match, and it just wasn't going my way. And so that second match was just, I beat myself before I even got out on the mat. And so it wasn't, hard for the other guy to, kind of finish the job. So, I ended up, ACC's 0-2, which I haven't gone 0-2 ever at a tournament. So that was a heartbreaker. I mean, I was pretty down the dumps. I didn't qualify for nationals. I was, just sitting there waiting for at large, which people were telling me, oh, you're going to get it. But at the end of the day, I didn't deserve it. Like, I felt like I didn't deserve to be there. Like, I couldn't qualify. I couldn't get top 4 in a conference of, 6 wrestlers. Like, I don't deserve to be at a national tournament where you're the best of the best. Like, that's just kind of the thoughts that run into my mind after the ACC tournament. And so it was a challenge. It was a huge challenge throughout the season. So yeah.
That's great. Thank you for taking us through all that, man. What a kind of roller coaster all that is. Yeah. Both of those guys that you lost to, you had beaten in the regular season, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you're feeling,
exactly.
And so if there was a highlight from that 15-match winning streak, I know you had some big matches in there, some tough matches. What would have been the highlight of that winning streak?
Yeah. My highlight was definitely my match against Chad Red in Nebraska. It was the first time. I mean, I wrestled at Ohio, which was also a big stage. There's a lot of people there. A lot of anxiety. He was a ranked opponent as well. But this Chad Red was top 10 in the country. He was I'm pretty sure 3-time All-American, 3 or 4-time All-American. It was like I've never beaten an All-American in my wrestling career. Like it just so this was a huge win for me. It showed me that I could battle with anybody. Chad Red was one, like I said, top 10. So that makes me, I felt like in my mind I was top 10. I was but even though this was something that I believed since like the day one, but it was actually being able to see be able to reap the benefits of my hard work and everything throughout the past 5 years. I can actually see it and see the results. So it meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to my confidence. I was yeah, I just felt unstoppable after winning that match, and also just looking after winning the match, looking back at my teammates, and they're all going crazy, like man, like they are so happy for me, and I just love. When I see my teammates going crazy, it's like the best feeling ever.
Yeah.
Especially at someone else's gym, where everyone else is silent, and the only people that are screaming are you and your boys. So
Yeah.
it was a great time. I love that match. So,
Wow. Thank you for painting that picture. What a great experience that must have been.
mm-hmm.
And so we're going to talk in just a minute about the NCAA championships themselves, but I want to set the stage for it a little bit. You've lost these 2 matches back to back in the ACC championships, and in total 3 of your last 5 matches. And so after that winning streak and now hit a little bit of a speed bump,
Mm-hmm.
what's going on inside you at that point? Are you still feeling confident? Are you starting to doubt yourself, wondering about this ACC championship?
Yeah. So
NCAA championship, excuse me.
yeah, yeah. So it was yeah, after that tournament, um I was down in the dumps. Like, I gotta be honest. I was like, there was no like, oh, this is nothing. This is like, I'm gonna power through this. This doesn't mean anything to me. It meant a lot. Like I said, I haven't gone 0-2 at a tournament ever. So it was very, very hard for me. I was very dark, in a very dark place at that moment. There wasn't much anyone could say to me, to kind of help. But on that day, after the next day, um, you know, my coaches, Coach Ramos, Coach Jamil, Coach Coleman, Coach Gary, they all, would sit me down like pretty much every day, and just, talk to me and say, listen, like, it's your last season. Like, you can mope, and you can sit here and just be defeated and say you don't deserve this all you want, but you don't want to live the rest of your life in regret. So you want to. They say you are the best guy in the country. They would tell me that, like, you are. There's no doubt. When you have Olympic medalists, in Jamil being second and Coleman being bronze, like, telling you that you are the best in the country, you start to believe them. It's this is something I've been telling myself, since day one, in college. But after the ACCs, I stopped telling myself that. But them sitting me down and them having the confidence in me kind of reinstilled that confidence in myself. So I was, it was them and my teammates all telling me that I deserve this. I deserve to be there. I deserve to be at the top of the podium. Just because of I had one bad day, that doesn't mean anything in terms of my career. It was so that was a lot of it. I was so happy that I had the support that I had, because without them, I would have still been in the kind of the attitude I was, and like I didn't deserve to be there, and that and this and that. But going on, this 15 match winning streak, beating the top guys in the country, that obviously meant something. Like, they're not actually going to let you in the national tournament, just because you're some scrub. They know you're a bad guy. So go out and prove it. End your season well, end your college career on a high note. Why not win the thing? And so that's what I did. I went out there, and they said just to have fun. They said, don't. They say they noticed like a change in me in my practice, Kizhan, and match Kizhan, and how they're completely two different people. Like, match Kizhan is like very nervous, and is kind of like trying to win a 1-point match, but practice Kizhan is putting everything out there and going and trying different things, and it's just having fun out there and letting it flow. So that was a lot of what went into that week. Was just kind of some soul searching. There wasn't much like technical stuff I did, as it is just mental, getting my mind right for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
well, that practice, Kizhan, certainly came out in the NCAA championships. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. Let me tell you about BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the beginning of the MLB season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering info, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Isaac Shade here from Locked On Tar Heels. Once again, I am joined today by Kizhan Clarke from the UNC wrestling team, as he would say, former 141-pounder. The season's over. Bro can do what he wants now. So Kizhan just shared with us some about his mentality, where he's at heading into the NCAA Championships. And Kizhan, staring at you in the first round is a rubber match with Mr. Jack from NC State. As a competitor, you've got to love that opportunity that's in front of you.
Yeah, for sure. I saw when the brackets came out, I was ecstatic. I was like, "There's no way I'm not making it to the finals." I thought like I got Jack. I can get my revenge back. I have Jaden Ironman, who in terms of like a style matchup, I couldn't get anyone better. He's someone who's very scrambly. He likes people getting in on his legs. So I was like, all right, cool. I can, that's a very winnable match. From there, it's all like a coin toss on who else I'm gonna have to wrestle. But I was very excited with my draw. So going into it, I was excited. My coaches were excited. They knew I could do this. I can pull it off if I just wrestle how I wrestle. Going into that first match, it was my first time ever at national. So even just like going to the arena was just kind of a surreal moment for me. I've wrestled in college for 6 years, and having never been to the national tournament, it's always the past 3 years. It's been something out of my control that's pulled me out of the national tournament. And so actually getting the bid and being at the arena, for me it was go time. I was like, it's time. This is where I shine. Like I'm gonna leave it all out here, no matter if I have to die out here on the mat. I'm not leaving until I have to be dragged off. And so that was the kind of mentality I was going out there in. That's the mentality all my teammates were going out there with, and we were being overlooked. And that was something that we took personal. It was they thought we were gonna place, I think, 38th or 40th, something, and we ended up coming out of that tournament 18, and so it was we were really we had something to prove. And so going out there, my first match, I was I had Kevin Jack, I was Ryan Jack, my bad, that was Kevin Jack, was his brother, but I had Ryan Jack. He beat me the week before. He busted open my eye, so I was pretty fired up about that match. I wanted to get that one back, and so I was I was prepared. I knew what he was gonna do. I knew he was gonna save it all for the last 30 seconds, and so that's what I did. I got my takedown. Going out there, honestly, I went out there and being on my first match at the NCAA tournament, and seeing all the lights, all the people, all the noise, it was just insane. It was I tried to tell myself that I'm not gonna be distracted by any of that stuff, but I was. I was definitely. When the first 5 seconds of the match, I got taken down in the first 5 seconds of the match, and I was just kind of like, oh, this is I'm here now. This has to. I have to, I have to turn it up, or I'm gonna have the same thing I have in ACCs. So I kind of shot all that out of my mind, all the doubt in my mind, all the distractions, kind of shot out of my mind in the first 5 seconds when I got taken down. And then from there, I got up and got my takedown, and rode him out, and from there just continue to wrestle my match, and I ended up winning that match, and I wasn't satisfied with the match because again it was a 1-point match with him, and I felt like I could do more, but I didn't care. It was I'll move on to the next round at that point. It's not, you don't have to keep looking back at past matches. So moved on to the next match. I knew I had Ironman. I was excited. I was this is my opportunity to upset, and this is if I beat him, I'm the second seed. Now I have the straight path to the finals. And so it was that was a big match for me. I was excited for that match, and I usually shine when there's less expectations on me. No one's expecting me to win that match. No one's expecting me to even touch Ironman, because I'm at large bid. I'm 15th seed. No one he's probably even thinking it's gonna be an easy match for me. So I told myself I'm going to shoot off the whistle, and I'm going to keep shooting until, like I said, they drag me off the mat. And so I was just attacking. And he's the type of guy where he's cool with you just getting on his legs so he can like do some weird, funky stuff. And, yeah, he's a very weird wrestler. So that's what, that's one of the biggest scouting report we had on him, just like he's very weird. And so I was like, all right, whatever. I don't care what he does. I'm gonna just wrestle my match and keep attacking. And so that's what I did. I was like attack mode. I was up the first period. He went down second. I let him up. So it's tied at this point, and he's a very good top wrestler. So I decided to stay neutral in that third period. Again, I'm just attacking at his legs every single time, and I'm just never able to score because he's a very weird wrestler, and so he's able to get out of those positions. And so we go into overtime, and I've had a few overtime matches in this year, and I've always pulled it out. And so when I wrestled Chad Red, I was in an overtime match with that, and I was able to pull it out, and I knew that I was going to win the match as soon as like the whistle blew and we were going to overtime. I knew at that moment that I was going to win this match. Like, there was no doubt in my mind that I was going to win this match. And so as soon as that whistle blows for overtime, I throw myself at him and we go out of bounds. And I'm like, all right, as soon as the whistle blows again, I'm going to throw myself at him again. And so I do it again. And then he catches me in some weird position, puts me to my back. And it was at that moment where I was like, now this is where I can just give up and like lose. Like if you look at the video, it's like a split second, this whole like scramble situation. But, in that moment, it felt like I was down there for like a good 30 minutes. So, I was thinking to myself, like, this is the moment where I can, fight out of this and win this match and just end it. Or I can just give up this takedown and walk off the mat and, be, content with losing to the number 2 guy in the country. But I was like, I know which way I'm gonna take, and so I scrambled out of it, and I got to my knees and I just lifted him in the air, and I was like, he can't scramble out of this one, so I just lifted him in the air, drop him down the mat, and there you go. I won the match. And
yes.
So the craziest part of the whole ordeal was the Iowa coach challenging the takedown, and them taking 10 minutes to review the call, and they usually take no more than a minute. It took literally 10 minutes looking at this takedown and making sure it was a takedown. And I thought at the end of it, like, they were just going to not call it. And so I was, when they called it, I was just, oh man, it was something else. That my mind freaking out. The crowd was crazy. Like, it was just so loud in that building. You couldn't even hear yourself think. And it was just like, they were all screaming for me. All eyes were on me. And I was just like, this is my moment. Like, I'm going to shine, at this tournament. And so from there on, momentum was just building every single match. Wow. And so,
let's fast forward to your semifinal, and man, you get this another shot at redemption. This time in the form of Cole Matthews from Pitt. You guys are tied at the end of overtime. You're shot out of a cannon to start this match. If you're listening or watching this, go find this match on YouTube. It's insane. So we get into overtime. Just let's start there. Take us into overtime. What's going on?
Yeah, so we're going into overtime. Like, Cole Matthews is someone that I struggle with because he's a very defensive wrestler. He loves to do counter offense, so I have to be very strategic with my attacks, and I can't get too. I'm not gonna go at him like I did with Ironman, because he's not gonna just let you get to his legs like Ironman did. So I was a lot more strategic in that match, which I think is the reason why I went to overtime. Like, maybe that's a good thing or a bad thing. Maybe I could have gotten taken out earlier, but it was whatever. I knew that we're in overtime. I knew, again, I was going to shine. Like, I knew that overtime was when, I was going to win. There was, again, no doubt in my mind that I was going to win this match. And so we're going overtime. 2 minutes go by, and there's no takedown. Now, this is territory I've never been in. So I usually finish it by the end of the first 2 minute, overtime period. And so, now I'm sitting there like, Cole Matthews is a pretty good mat wrestler. He loves his top position. So it was I was getting, a little worried, but I wasn't letting any doubt creep in at that point. But I knew this was like a position that he was gonna get comfortable. He's comfortable in, so I was like, I have to get out immediately. There can't be any second of me, even like thinking about, certain positions. I just got to go off instincts and just go. And so I'm down first period of the overtime, and I get up and escape in the first like 3 or 4 seconds. It was best escape I've ever had in my career. It was
so quick.
It was quick.
Yeah.
So I was like, I was happy. I knew that's how it would have to happen, because anything else he would have got a leg in or locked up on something, and I was going to get out for the 30 seconds. And so after that, I was happy. I was confident. I knew that I was going to win. I was going to win the match, because I was like, I just only have to ride him for 5 seconds. Like there was no I can hold on to someone for 5 seconds. There's no question about that. So he went down, started to whistle. He stands up, lift him back to the mat. Stands up, lift him back to the mat. Stands up, lift him back to the mat. I rode him for like 20 seconds at this point. And he finally gets out. And so at this point, the rules have changed on overtime. And so it used to be, I escape, he escapes, and we go to another overtime on our feet. But they changed the rules to where, I escape. It took me 5 seconds to escape. It took him 20 seconds to escape. So because I have 15 more seconds on riding time, I win the match. But at that moment, I did not know that. I was just like, okay, whatever. We're going on to the next period. And then like once he got up that escape, he started like bull rushing me and going crazy. I was like, man, this man's really going at me for no reason when we have a whole nother minute to wrestle. Like I don't really understand. And so, he drives me out of bounds and everything. The clock runs out. I start walking back to the center to get ready for the next 1 minute period. And, I see the ref, he holds up one finger, one finger for red, 1 point for red. And I'm like, I look over like what was the call? Why do I get a point? Like what happened? I started looking at the ref like, is that it? Like, is that it? And I start to remember that the rules have changed on overtime, and I'm just like, oh snap! I just won this match. That's it. And I started like going crazy and just started cheering, hug my coaches. I'm like, I'm in the finals. I'm in national finals. I was just going wild, and it was just a nice redemption. Beating the two guys that beat me in the season. It was just like a really nice way to cap off, and plus it was my 100th win. So I was like just very, very excited at that point, and my family were all happy, and it was a lot of emotions at that time. Everyone's reaching out to me, and it was just, I loved every second of it. It was a great moment.
Wow. So. What an epic victory, man. That's huge. And I love the part of you just not knowing or not remembering in the moment those changes. And that just makes the story all the better. And then, you move on to the championship. Unfortunately lost that one. But listen, let's take nothing away. What an incredible run. And so just a couple follow-up questions to it. First off, you, my friend, are the first Black finalist in UNC program history to make it to the championship round. We had something similar. Hubert Davis, the first Black basketball coach in Carolina history. What does it mean to you to be part of that type of legacy?
Yeah, I mean, it means a lot to me. My identity as like a Black man is like first and foremost like the most important thing to me. The whole reason I'm in law school is because I realize the struggle we go through as a people in the criminal justice system. It's unfair. It's unfair against us, and we have people who represent people who look like me, who come from where I come from, who have no idea of what I'm not going to say no idea, because there are white people that face the same struggles that Black people do, but it's just a lot of attorneys don't have never been through that. A lot of attorneys, I'd say, a large majority of them have not been through what some of the struggles that the Black people that they defend have been through. And so there's not a lot of empathy there for them. There's not they just see him as another another defendant, another someone, another criminal. And and the justice system treats them that way. They, throw them away in a cage, lock them up like they're animals, and that's why I want to do what I want to. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because there's a lot of good that I can do in the criminal justice system and for people that look like me, and so that is a big part of my identity, and why I do what I do. And being a wrestler in, again, another underrepresented, class of people in wrestling. It's dominated by white people, and it's not many of us in the sport. So, it was. But again, it's a different type of thing, because I'm treated the same as anyone else in wrestling. It doesn't matter if you're black or white or what, you're not going to get unfair treatment when you're out there on the mat wrestling man to man to somebody. Like, it doesn't matter what race you are, where you come from. It just matters how much hard work you put in. Like, so at the end of the day, none of that really matters there. And all my teammates and everyone, they love me as I'm I'm a brother, no matter what. You have black, Hispanic, white people, like all types of race, creed, color, in the program that will love you unconditionally, and that's why I respect wrestling so much. It's just it does nothing really matters outside of it. It's just what what you do, what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. So yeah, that's my kind of point on it.
Thank you for that work. Thank you for your desire to make this country a better place where we can all be one, where we can live out the dreams of Dr. King, for example. And thank you. Seriously, that means so much as a brother. So you talk about this law school stuff. So you now have finished your wrestling season. What's next for you moving forward?
So what's immediately next for me is exams. I'm really cramming this month for exams. At the end of the month, I'm, it's I've sacrificed a lot of time for wrestling, and it put a lot of my focus into wrestling this last month because of nationals. So it's nice to have some time to kind of focus on my school and focus on law school, and just kind of put wrestling on the back burner for a month, just for a month. But I do plan on, just getting through my exams this month. I have a whole another year of law school next year, and then this summer I have an internship with a judge here in North Carolina, and I have a lot of opportunities this summer because of my performance at the NCAA tournament. I have so many firms reaching out to me, and just they all respect my my hustle and my story. So it's given me a lot of opportunities, and it's definitely gonna open a lot of doors for me. So
awesome.
In terms of my career, I'm pretty confident in how it's gonna all turn out. In terms of wrestling, I'm the German. Like I said, I'm born in Germany, so I'm a German citizen, and so the German national championship is May 20th, and so I'm gonna be planning on traveling to Germany then, and competing the German nationals, just so I can make the world team, start wrestling for world championships and the Olympics in 2024. So there's still a lot of I'm still excited for my wrestling career, as much as I am for my legal career. So there's a lot of opportunities ahead.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Can't wait to watch that progression and where it all takes you. So, very last question, and then I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem.
Is this: you spent most of your career at American, and don't want to take anything away from that. That is obviously a huge part of your story. But I want to ask you this: what does it mean to you now to be a Tar Heel?
What does it mean to me now? It's the first word that comes to my mind is just the support. Is just unreal, the amount of support I get as an athlete. Not to say that AU didn't provide that support to me, but having a program that puts a big priority on athletics with we didn't have a football team at AU, so there wasn't like we had a that tens of thousands of fans in the stadium watching, athletes play, and didn't have all this money coming in for athletics. So here there's a big priority on, athletics, and I at being an athlete, I love that. I love that. It's great. You get all the same perks that anyone else gets, any of the basketball players and football players get. And so it's nice to have just the amount of support that I have in terms of staff, and having coach, the coach that I have, Olympic medalists as coaches is just like unreal to me, and people that I've only like watched and could imagine to reach the goals that they've hit. It's amazing, and just the being in Chapel Hill alone is just it's all surrounding UNC. Wherever you go, if you wear any type of UNC gear, you're gonna have people come up talk to you. Oh, I'm a UNC alum and all of this, and it's just like a connection. Once you're a Tar Heel, like everyone around here is a Tar Heel, and we're all family, and it's just something that I'm new to. It's not something like, not many people at AU. DC is a small place, but it's also a big place. You're not going to see many AU alum walking around DC, but you walk around here, like, you will find Tar Heels all over North Carolina. They're everywhere. So I love it. That's the biggest thing about being a Tar Heel, is definitely the support system I have here. That and the food. The food here is second to none. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, Kizhan, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for sharing your story with us, sharing this incredible season that you had, man. Just so cool to track with you. Can't wait to see what's coming up next and everything with Germany and your law career. Man, it's going to be great. My thanks to you, brother.
No, thank you, Isaac. I appreciate all, you championed me and to do this. I appreciate, sharing my story to people and showing them that it is possible. That some of the a lot of people like to think that you have to prioritize one or the other in terms of like athletics or academics. But I love to show people that and be an example for people that you can do both. And so that's what I would inform people, and like people to kind of take me as an example of, is that you can do both. And again, being a Black athlete and a Black law student, you can, being from where I came from, you can still do it. You don't have to be privileged to achieve what the success that I've seen. So that's why I would like to kind of end off with on that.
That's great. Kizhan Clarke, a true student athlete. That's it for today's episode of Locked on Tar Heels. Again, my thanks to Kizhan Clarke for joining us. What an incredible young man. What an incredible story. Can't wait to see what he does in wrestling. Can't wait to see what he does in the courtroom. Regardless of where he's at, I don't doubt that it's going to be phenomenal. Kizhan, thank you again. Please, if you haven't already, go subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead, smash the like button, hit subscribe. And please, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, go and give this show 5 stars, rate and review. Great comments. Would be really grateful if you would do that. Also, you can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Heels, and you can follow me at Isaac Schade, ISAACSCHADE. Coming up on tomorrow's show, over the weekend we learned that Leaky Black is coming back, so we got more roster updates for the Carolina basketball team to talk about and what that's going to look like for next season, so don't miss it. I want to thank you again so much for making Locked on Tar Heels your first listen today and every day, and now let me encourage you to make Locked on NFL Draft your second listen. Ryan Tracy and former NFL cornerback Eric Crocker bring the NFL Draft to life every day with insight and analysis on college football prospects and NFL front offices. It's free and available wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks so much for taking part out of your Monday, the first day of this new week, to check in with me and with Tar Heels. It's just been great to talk and to hear what Kizhan has had to share with us today. For those of you that celebrate Easter, I hope you had a great Easter weekend and coming into this new resurrection life. Hey, I also want to remind you, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. Until tomorrow, peace!